Is your dog racist? You'd be surprised how often I get that question in private training sessions. Usually asked with quite a bit of embarrassment. But dogs aren't inherently racist, but their behavior sometimes seems that way depending on how they react to certain groups of people. If you like this video, make sure to hit subscribe, and if you want, leave a comment and let me know if you've ever had to deal with a situation like this. So the first one is a lack of socialization. So dogs may be more reactive or wary of people who look or smell different from what they're used to if they haven't been exposed to a wide variety of people during their early socialization period, like in that first 4 months of their life. Dogs heavily rely on sight, smell, and sound to process the world, so unfamiliar stimuli can trigger anxiety or fear. For instance, a dog that hasn't been around people of different races or colors, or those who wear specific cultural clothing, like hijabs or traditional outfits, might respond with uncertainty or discomfort. For example, if a dog grows up in a fully white environment, they might bark the first time they see a black person because they just never seen a black person before. That would also work the other way around. If your dog grows up in a fully black family and they've never seen a white person before, they might find that strange. That has nothing to do with your dog actually being racist, because a dog doesn't know what race is. Another reason might be unfamiliar scents, and I think this is a really interesting one. Obviously, we know dogs have a really good sense of smell, and people from different cultural backgrounds often have distinct scents due to the foods they eat or personal care products they use and even where they live. A dog that isn't used to these smells might react cautiously or with anxiety. Let's take, for example, Indians. There might be diet and spices that Indians use, which they do. They use a lot of spices in Indian food, and I love it. But a dog that isn't used to that might be a bit overwhelmed by the strong spices like cumin, turmeric, cardamom, and chili. These spices create unique and potent scents that may linger on someone's clothes, skin, or hair. Since dogs have an extraordinary sense of smell, these unfamiliar scents could capture a dog's attention or trigger a reaction if they've never been exposed to that before. Or we might have personal care products, that we use in certain countries but not in others, like hair oils, lotions, or strong perfume, which can also carry distinct scents. A dog may find these smells either interesting or unusual, which could lead to a strong reaction. To show how sensitive dogs can be, when I was still working as a primary school teacher, I had a colleague who just got a dog that got along really well with the neighbor because she would pet sit the dog regularly. And suddenly the dog didn't like the neighbor anymore, and he kept barking at her and clearly didn't want to be around her. Now, turns out that neighbor was undergoing chemotherapy, and some dogs can react really badly to that, because obviously chemotherapy is poison, right? Yes, it helps people, but you are poisoning your body in order to get better. So obviously dogs pick up on that. And that's how sensitive dogs can be. They don't know what's going on. Another reason why a dog might seem racist is body language and clothing. Some clothing or accessories can make dogs uneasy, especially if they obscure parts of the human body that dogs typically rely on to interpret human behavior. For example, hijabs or large flowing garments that might look unfamiliar and can appear to a dog as a change in silhouette. Sunglasses, hats, or masks can cover a person's face, making it harder for a dog to read their facial expression, which may cause confusion or stress. That's why I always say, if your dog barks at people with hats, you're wearing a hat for the whole week. In the house, everyone in the house, just wear a hat and sunglasses. Yeah, and soon your dog will understand, oh, this isn't that much of a big deal. Vocal patterns and language, they're very sensitive to tone and voice and sounds. Hearing someone speak a different language with unfamiliar vocal patterns, accents, or intonations may confuse or excite a dog. This is especially true if you have high-pitched and loud voices, which can either attract or alarm a dog. Previous negative experiences with a group of people. Yeah, if a dog has had a bad experience with someone from a particular group, so someone who looks a certain way or with specific clothing, it may generalize that experience to others who share characteristics. For example, a dog that was once frightened by someone in a hijab might react negatively when encountering someone else wearing a hijab, even if they don't pose any threat, but that's all they know. It could also be caused by the owner's behavior. Yeah, so dogs are very attuned to their owner's body language and emotional state. And if an owner feels anxious or restless or uneasy around certain groups of people, your dog will pick up on that anxiety and mirror it, even if there is no real danger. Yeah, but your feelings show to the dog, something to be worried about. It kind of is your issue, not the dog's issue. It could be a different cultural approach to dogs. Cultural differences in the way people interact with dogs can affect behavior. Some people may be more reserved to dogs, around dogs. So in certain regions, dogs may be viewed differently, sometimes as unclean or as an animal to avoid. So obviously, if dogs sense that hesitancy or fear from the person that's approaching them, they might respond by becoming more alert or anxious or reactive, right? Dogs often mirror emotions of people they interact with, and they can feel if they're not, if people are afraid of them, which you often see in countries that have a lot of street dogs and lots of bite incidents with street dogs. So obviously there is fear from the people there for interacting with those dogs. Now, how do we address this type of behavior to ensure that it doesn't happen too often, or so you can reduce it? So it's important to expose your dog to diverse different people. Regularly exposing your dog to people of different ethnicities and cultural backgrounds helps them to become accustomed to varying appearances, scents, and behaviors. And I would even like to add to that people in wheelchairs that have prosthetic legs or arms. All of those kind of things are really good to expose your dog to. You also can desensitize your dog. Yeah, so positively reward with interactions or exposure with those people that he reacts negatively to. So that soon he will learn, hey, I see a person with a hat and I get a treat, so I guess the person with the hat isn't that scary after all. If your dog's reactions are based on fear or overexcitement, you might want to work with a professional to work on their impulse control or help with the reactivity. In short, though, your dog's reactions aren't personal, they're not based on race or any form of bias. They're typically driven by their experience, what they see and what they smell, what they're familiar with, and how they process differences in the world around them. So hopefully I can set your mind at ease that no, your dog is not a racist. I would love to hear in the comments if you've ever had an experience like this, if your dog has ever shown you like, oh my god, this is embarrassing. Like, let me know in the comments, and how did you deal with it?